Today we are going to talk about reimagining products using AI. Who hasn't heard the word AI? Right? There's absolutely no one, right? So before we get started, let me briefly introduce myself, and then I'd love to know about you guys as well. So I have more than close to 3 decades, 28 years of industry experience. Grew up in India, did my engineering, then did my master's from Harvard, did a management program in collaboration with ISP and Kellogg's. Started my career working as a scientist in DRDO, people familiar with DRDO, Defense Research and Development Organization. Then moved to the US, worked in startups, landed in a company called Pegasystems. Came back to India 2007. It has been 17 plus years now. And then 7 years back, I joined Microsoft. And I'm heading their Data and AI Center of Excellence as we speak right now. I'm very active in the startup ecosystem. I'm an advisor at T-Hub, mentor and advisor at T-Hub as well. Outside work, my husband is in the software industry as well. He works at Apple. Son is same age as you guys. He was going to come, but he has a driver's license test exam today, so he couldn't. There's the timing we didn't plan well. Otherwise, he, along with his friends, would have come as well. My daughter is a MBBS doctor pursuing postgrad right now. And then I have a small little Shih Tzu half cut in the picture. That's our COVID baby. I'm passionate about yoga. I do and practice, teach yoga on a regular basis as well. On this note, briefly about you guys. So majority of the conferences, we say that, okay, keep your phone aside. In this one, I want you to all take your phone out and scan this code so that we can talk along. Either scan or go to menti.com and type this code on your phone. Everyone has a phone, right? So not a problem. So either scan the QR or go to menti.com and then type this code in there. Either should work. Once you're there, let me know. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Everyone has it. Anyone who doesn't have it scanned yet? So as I navigate, we'll navigate the slides together, and when I ask you to, fastest fingers fast, you press it there. Done? Everybody all set on their phones? All right. So the first thing, how many of you, I see a lot of your students, but just help me so that I can get, I was asking this to Muskan and others as well. What's the audience? What's the mix? So that I can, talk accordingly. So I have 23 responses so far, but I see there are more number of people in the room. So majority of you are in 11th and 12th grade, I guess, trying to figure out what you want to do next. So this is great and good to know. Another thing I'm going to do is, because this generation is all hooked onto the cell phone, I'm sure you're all using some form of ChatGPT or any other chat to ask questions, to prep for your school assignments, homeworks, right? No secret there. So do me a favor. Someone once said that software is eating the world. Can you all search in your whatever tool that you use? Who said that software is eating the world? And then we are going to discuss about it briefly. Whatever chat engine you use, who said software is eating the world? You have the answer. Some of you would have done it already. So it was said by Mark Anderson in 1990, I believe. And he was the founder of Netscape at that time. So what does it mean when someone says software is eating the world? The thing, if you imagine, is that since 1990s, the companies that really outperformed others were the companies where software was playing a key role in the business. And I come from software industry, so there is a slight bias that you have to take it along as well. So be it Uber, they didn't own the fleet of the cars, but grew significantly. Be it Airbnb, the likes of Amazon. So that was the era when really software was dominating businesses that incorporated software and technology from the day one were really doing well. Now I'm going to ask you a second question. Someone recently said, AI is eating software. Now can you check who said and when?
Can you repeat?
AI is eating software. And we have to make it interactive. It's a small group, so if you talk, you'll enjoy, I'll have fun as well. Right, so got your answer, right? It was Jensen Huang, who is the CEO of NVIDIA. People heard of NVIDIA? Yeah? So few years back, if I asked anyone, people know NVIDIA, nobody would know. But in the past year, I think almost everyone has heard of NVIDIA as a company which creates the chips for all the AI processing. So Jensen Huang, who's the CEO of NVIDIA, made this statement last year. And what does it really mean? AI eating software, because there was an era when, especially in India, you would see a lot of software developers working here and there, and now AI is changing the way software development happens. And there's massive transformation going across the industry on how you develop software or how you envision the software as we know as well, like the way you knew search up until now versus how all these chatbots have changed the way you do searches or find information has transformed. So AI is eating software is kind of talking about the same thing, that the next revolution is what is going on. Then recently someone said that agents are going to disrupt SaaS. People know SaaS, SaaS. Are you aware? No. So SaaS stands for software as a service. So anything that you use on the net, be it the likes of your email, or if you go to any website like Insta or any other website that you normally use, these are basically providing you service, right? So these are called software as a service. When you go to Make My Trip or any other, these are providing you service. So this is software as a service, right? So that's the acronym SaaS. Someone recently said that agents are going to the statement was agents are going to disrupt SaaS as we know today. So we are all using SaaS products, so in software lingo. But the statement was agents are going to disrupt SaaS. Searched, found it. So it was, I don't know whether you found it yet, I'll still give the answer. It was Satya Nadella who made the statement in the month of January this year as recent. And it is again making a lot of buzz because there are a lot of SaaS companies, software companies that are building the product, and now they have to reimagine how software works. And what are agents? Any idea, anyone? Sorry? This is Gen AI part of it, yes, but not necessarily generative AI. Generative AI, as you know, like you type a question, you get a response. It generates response. Agents are something that act on your behalf. So rather than going to Make My Trip and say that, oh, I choose a 2 from Hyderabad to Bangalore, find a flight at this hour, blah, blah. Agents are something like a human agent if you had. You just say, can you do the dishes for me? Can you do laundry for me? Software agents are someone where you can just delegate the work and they're autonomous. They work on your behalf. You'll just say, book a ticket to Bangalore for me and my preference is to travel in the first half within this price range, and it will just go ahead and do the booking for you. So that's the next evolution of agents that's coming up. So the statement was agents are going to change SaaS, which is software as we know today. So that's what is going on. And that's the context setting for you guys. Let me ask another question to you guys. And this is a simple one. On your phone, if you go back to the app that you were at, which one would you choose? Do you want unlimited money or unlimited time?
Neither.
Sorry?
Neither.
Neither. You don't want neither. You can just pay. I'm just curious to see what the majority youngsters say here. And it feels like a split. A lot of people want money as well and time as well, right? We're all running after money. But at the same time, we want time at hand so that we can actually, like, especially as a working professional, you want a time at your hand so that you can do things that you care about or you're passionate about. So a lot of people actually want time. So this is interesting. But in this cohort, I was assuming that the answer would be that people want more money. But it's good to see that people want more time to do things. That's interesting. So AI is helping people make money, but also at the same time, it is helping people get the time back. How many of you use all these tools that have come, AI tools for your homework assignments? And no shame, my son uses it. I bought the paid subscription for him. Yes. So it is saving you time, right? We are willing to spend some extra bucks there because it saves and gets you time, right? And then the second question that I'm going to ask you, which one would you choose? Would you want to travel back in time or travel to future? Interesting. A lot of people want to travel back in time as well to know the history. That's good. So I'm going to cover both. Good news is that I'll spend some time explaining what happened so far and also sneak peek into what's coming up of basis what we see today. So let's get right in. People know, all of you know about industry revolution. So this is a little bit because you wanted to go back in time and understand it as well. So they say that the first industry revolution was when the steam engine came in existence that changed the humanity and the things as we know. The second industry revolution was electricity. It changed so many things drastically for us. Industry revolution 3 was when computers, internet, all this came. Today where we are sitting, people are anticipating AI to be that kind of a forcing function that's going to cause that type of industry revolution as well. So we'll know in the future if this is called another industry revolution, but that's a scale and impact of where we are sitting and witnessing, what we're witnessing as we speak. And this is not new. AI is not new. So the word first Alan Turing test, people who are interested in the history of AI as well, it was in 1950 when Alan Turing, the person, anybody who's working in AI would know about Alan Turing. He conducted a test where it will mimic a human. So it's a black box, you sit and ask a question. If the response, by the response, you can't know whether a human gave a response or a machine gave a response, and we said, okay, it's intelligent. Right? So that was the first time Alan Turing coined this. And then the term was introduced in 1956. It took more than 70 years for us to, close to 70 years for us to get where we are today. And then there were several chatbot kind of conversation happening. I think during COVID, a lot of us would have seen all these robo for cleaning the houses as well that were introduced. Then Alexa came into picture, search is itself an AI. But the real breakthrough happened when it came in the hands of the users. The research in ChatGPT or OpenAI was happening for years. But the real thing came in everybody's hands was in 2022 November when it was publicly launched, and I'm sure you all know about it as well. A lot of you are here because I think you want to do startups or something in the future or become a future entrepreneur or founders as well. So this is just a stat. This is a little bit dated because it's from 2023, but the things haven't changed drastically. Globally, the funding in startups reduced in 2023. So there was a decrease globally, 65% fall in the startup funding. But at the same time, there was 110% rise in investments in Gen AI-based startups. You talked about Gen AI. And where exactly? It's not just a buzzword. Why is so much investment happening in Gen AI suddenly? I'll explain it using this diagram. So whenever a new technology comes, so we talked about industry revolution. So this is the part where if you want to make money, where is the money in Gen AI? Which type of startups can you think about it? So let's start from the top. See, when a new technology comes like steam engine, what happens? There's a lot of requirement for infrastructure. You'd require steel, coal. So there'll be a lot of companies who are actually investing in steel and coal, right? Then the second is hardware manufacturers, people who are going to actually manufacture trains and ships on it. So that's where some companies would come doing that. Third is there'll be operators, people who are actually neither building, mining the steel and everything, or not mining coal or building trains and ships, but they are operating and enabling. And then the last is there'll be applications or traders. They're using all this infrastructure to move goods and services from one place to another. So that's why any time an industry revolution or such an industry or such a tech comes, there is going to be investment across. I'll take another thing. When people say AI is a new wave, so people have gone to beaches, right? When you are in a beach, there are a few forces. Like if you try to create or generate wave, it's very hard, right? We can't create waves. So there's going to be gravitational pull, push forces that act to create a wave. So similarly, there are some forces that are creating the waves. And I'd say some of these companies that are creating models or creating all these GPUs, they're generating the wave. And then there'll be some businesses that are creating, all the wave boards so that you can ride the wave, right? So that you will see besides the beach, there are so many other businesses that are mushrooming as well. Waveboard is there. Then there'll be some companies that would come and teach people how to sail, how to go and use the waveboard as well so that you're able to enjoy the beach. So that's another set of businesses. And finally, there are users who are just enjoying the wave and sailing and in that process. So let's talk about Gen AI in the same space. Like what are the various pockets in which Gen AI companies are flourishing? Number one thing is that you need cloud. People have heard of cloud. And there are top companies, like a lot of companies, small, big companies that are investing in cloud. What do these companies do? They provide a lot of storage space for you to store your data. AI products are built using a lot of data, and they require models that are going to analyze that data and then come up with answers or solutions or whatever you see on Gen AI. So companies like you might have heard of OpenAI and Microsoft partnership. So Microsoft is providing cloud storage to OpenAI and a lot of other companies who are wanting to build. So a lot of companies who have cash, they're building this cloud compute infrastructure. So companies in this space are the likes of Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and plus there are several smaller players as well. So that's one set. And if you see in the last 2-3 years, the stock for these companies that are cloud providers, it has gone up as well, because when a wave comes, everyone benefits. That's what I'm trying to explain here as well. Then there are next is graphic GPUs. So NVIDIA's example that we took, they are in providing the chips. When you see any computer, not behind that computer, there is an intelligent chip that powers the compute power. Similarly, for all these AI models, you need compute power, and there are GPUs, which a lot of companies, there are some Indian companies, there are silicon companies that are coming up as well, but NVIDIA is one of the leaders in this GPU space, and that's why in the past 2.5 years. Any guesses? What percentage did the stock increase by? Anybody in business here? Or your parents in business where they invest? So if you had invested, let's say 3-4 years back, I don't remember the exact stock price, it's like 250 times up. So that's the level of massive growth that we are talking about here. So that's what happened. It fell down recently with the new model that DeepSeek was announced by Chinese company. So that's with stock anyways, but that's just the different thing. Then there are companies that are building these models. Like OpenAI is one such model that a lot of us are aware of. There are several such companies. Lambda, Microsoft has its own model. These companies are building models so that you use a cloud compute, you add all your data, it is going to process all that data and provide you the information. And then there are applications on top of it. Numerous applications. I'm pretty sure you all would have experienced and noticed the ChatGPT is basically one example which does text. There are DALL-E, which does image. There's so many such models out there, some for creating videos, some for creating something else or whatnot, right? So that's how all these spectrum, so the investment that I was talking about, it is going across the stack in all these areas. So 1 million is the usage number that we track. As a product, when you build a product, you want to make sure people are using it. So this is just an interesting thing which shows that how much time it takes for a company to reach to 1 million users. The rate of diffusion today of technology is so high that it is unbelievable. Netflix took 3.5 years to reach to 1 million. And Airbnb also took 2.5 years. But if you see ChatGPT, it took only 5 days for the entire world to notice it and install it, and it reached 1 million users. 1 million is a huge number for any software product if you build a product to reach that number. And then even reaching 100 million is another benchmark. So for example, Netflix, it took 10 years to get from 1 million to 100 million. Again, the way the disruption is happening, and tomorrow something else might come as well. It took only 2 months to reach 100 million. Any guesses? Like, we all had telephones and mobile. How long did it take for telephone to reach the traditional telephone that we all know of, that your parents would know of, took for it to reach 100 million? Any guesses? Random guesses? 10 years? No, it took 75 years. 75 years to reach to 100 million. So that was the penetration of technology in our time. Today, the way things are, we are living in such a connected world that, and something is working somewhere in the world, it just spreads like it. And if something isn't working, that spreads as well. So that's the power of tech, and also disadvantage. Then going back to, you all might be in different businesses or different ideas, whether you build, what I explained to you was that there is merit in doing business across the stack, but also this slide is not that visible. But what I'm trying to see is that it is transforming work across industry. So top one is banking industry, just as an example. So in each of these industry, LLMs are, like, companies are coming, analysts are coming and predicting what might happen in the future, what kind of work can get automated. So there is a high 54% of the high potential for automation, 12% higher potential for further automation, and then there's some proportion of work that is not going to be impacted with the Gen AI. But what it tells you is that across different domains, which is again hard to read, from life sciences to high tech to aerospace, defense, medicine, banking, insurance, across sectors there is a potential for disruption, and it is already happening. There are, people have created customized GPTs or bots for answering legal queries, for answering medical queries, for education purposes. So there is a potential of disrupting all these spaces, all these verticals across. And then there is also a saying in the industry that's going on that 40% of the working can be impacted. That means we'll get 40% of our time back. Today, if someone comes, let's say if someone is in a law firm, you have to figure out the right, penal code or whatever. You have to reference so many documents. But imagine if it was all digitized, and if all that information was available through a simple query, it is going to save tremendous amount of time, right? So the prediction is that 40% of the time would be saved. So going back to, do you want to save more, have more time or more money? That's why I asked that question, because industry is expecting that there'll be a time saved across sectors. But at the same time, history tells us that's not going to be the case, that 40% time saving means that companies are going to say, okay, you work 40% less with the same salary. And so what does it have an impact on work is something that is yet to be figured out. But that's where we are headed towards. And the impact is already seen across various sectors. Now, what is LLM? I thought a little bit of example giving is done, but what exactly is LLM? The definition is very simple. These are large language models. Imagine that they have swallowed up all the data of your textbooks, all medical, every data that you know of is in those models, and then when you query, they're able to respond back. But just imagine the amount of compute power needed to process all that world information. Now, the second thing I'll ask is, what is Gen AI? You talked about Gen AI. Gen AI is a subset of AI. What it does with that data, it is using that data to create. It's a creative, it is generative. It is creating something of its own. Let me ask you one question. What's the first letter of your name? Just type it on the chat board. All right. So let's say if you were playing a betting game, like if you're meeting a stranger, we asked you that you have to guess the starting alphabet of name of this person. You're not going to start thinking that the name might start with Z, right? You'll most likely think the name might be, like let's say if you were to bet, first guess, maybe the name starts with basis, whatever you know, A, H, S, M, right? So that's how these large language models work as well. Basis the information and observation that they have had gathered over such a long time. Imagine that everything that they do is a reward-based system. If they predict the right outcome, they're rewarded to do better. If they predict the wrong outcome, then imagine some money is deducted from the account. That's how they basically learn and adapt more. And how did you know, like basis this data, we know that if I'm meeting a stranger, what are the odds of the name starting with a letter? I know basis all these years what I've observed people with different names in growing up as well. Now, let me ask you another question. If I say fill in the, what are you going to write? Filling the blank, filling the blanks, filling the spaces, filling the gap, filling the exchequer. Someone is really creative. And yeah. So again, how does Gen AI work? The reason I'm giving this example is to explain you the same. What it does is that it takes first two sentence words and then predicts the next one. And basis the next one, it predicts the next one. So generative AI works on the same. And how did you know that it should be fill in the blank? Just because we have past knowledge on how English sentences work. So if you were to teach a Gen AI model Hindi or Bengali or Telugu, you have to teach all of this knowledge or all of this language understanding to that model, and it is going to just complete the sentences for you. That's how Gen AI works. And now what happens? Let's say if you guys are in an interview, right? Maybe you're interviewing with Bower, and you get a question that you don't know the answer of. What do you typically do in an interview or your practical exam or in your exam? You are posed with a question that you don't know the answer of. What do you do? Anyone? Be honest.
Something related to that, close to that.
You'll say something. Even if you don't know the answer, you'll go around the bushes and like, let's say if someone asks you, when was this invented? If you don't know the date, you know something random about it related, you'll just blur it out just so that you get some marks out of it. And that's what this Gen AI does as well. So it's not very factual. It hallucinates. If it doesn't know something, it will still spit out something for you because it can't accept. It has been trained the way we work as well. If we don't know it, we'll say something still for the sake of it. So you ask random things, you'll pretty soon notice that it starts hallucinating. So when you're building an application, this is that's why it has to be extremely carefully and thoughtfully done. Let's say if we build a medical bot, which answers all the medical questions. And imagine if it doesn't know, it starts spitting out something random. It's devastating, right? So similarly, let's say if someone is using it for a legal advice. So it can start giving wrong legal advice, whether it knows it or not. And it's very easy for, you play it in several number of times, it will start hallucinating and creating. You ask, show me the link of the page which has blah. If that page doesn't exist, it will still give out a random link to you. And when you actually click on the link, that's when you realize that it's all bluff. So for that reason, while the technology has advanced, it has its limitations as well. So when you're building applications or products, this has to be carefully thought through as well. Now, this is a Gen AI prism. Basically, I told you there are some models that are there for creation. There are a lot of models that have been created for if you are a coder, for you to help with coding. So you don't necessarily have to learn all the language of Python, Java, C, .NET. A lot of copilots or Gen AI products available that help you code. There are a lot of them which are for chatting purposes. A lot of them are there already for health reasons purposes. There are some which are to help you become more productive and get the time back. Like for example, if you're dealing with a lot of Excels, a lot of data, a lot of tools and products that have been built around Gen AI to help you with that. Some of them are for branding purposes. So you name a thing, there are companies that have mushroomed, and that's why you see the investment in the startup in this space as well. How many of you have seen this video of, do we have audio in this or no? Would it play the audio, or do I have to, would it play for them? It will come. Okay, let's try. So how many of you have seen this video of Sora? People heard of Sora? Yeah, so this is, Sora actually didn't release this. This is an old example, but still illustrates the, let me see if the audio comes. So this is something, this is a year old actually. The Sora actually never came out in production, but there are similar models that have come out in production. So they gave a prompt kangaroo, and this is all AI generated. And the model was not released for public yet. But that's why I said it's an old, this is the prompt that was given, a golden retriever puppy in snow. And this is what it generated. So it's becoming hard to decipher between real, fake, and what is. So this, you can imagine the future of movie making. How is it going to change? So there was a company which was investing in a movie studio similar to Ramoji Film City around the same time when Sora was announced. They pulled back their plans. They realized that they don't need that much of physical real estate anymore to be able to do it. So they are reimagining how movie making should be done. So that's why every business is going to reimagine how they think about, I don't know whether this video has audio or not. I'll show the next one and see if. Next up, I had some examples. So this is also all, if you were to showcase a person traveling on Mars. You can check, there are so many tools out there now. When I first gathered this example, this was the only one that was released in beta. But let me show another example to you. So these are just some examples to tickle your brain and thinking as well. What happened to this video? I don't know, for some reason this example isn't loading, but let me see if the next one. So people know that, anyone heard here of Bhashini? Bhashini is an Indian NGO, kind of, they have developed language models for India because a lot of this development has happened in the US. So when I was talking about if you were to build a Telugu model, how would you do it? So Bhashini has pretty much tried and done the same thing. So there was an event in which Modi ji were in, I think in Delhi, there was a Tamil Sammelan happening. So he was speaking in his language. On the fly, the translation happened for all the audience in Tamil language. So let me see if this video plays or not, and if there is audio.
मेरे परिवारजनों, कुछ दिन पहले काशी में एक एक्सपेरिमेंट हुआ था, जिसे मैं मन की बात के श्रोताओं को जरूर बताना चाहता हूं। आप जानते हैं कि काशी तमिल संगमम में हिस्सा लेने के लिए हजारों लोग तमिलनाडु से काशी पहुंचे थे। वहां मैंने उन लोगों से संवाद के लिए आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस एआई टूल भाषिणी का सार्वजनिक रूप से पहली बार उपयोग किया। मैं मंच से हिंदी में संबोधन कर रहा था, लेकिन एआई टूल भाषिणी की वजह से वहां मौजूद तमिलनाडु के लोगों को मेरा वही संबोधन उसी समय तमिल भाषा में सुनाई दे रहा था। काशी तमिल संगमम में आए लोग इस प्रयोग से बहुत उत्साहित दिखे। वो दिन दूर नहीं जब किसी एक भाषा में संबोधन हुआ करेगा और जनता रियल टाइम में उसी भाषण को अपनी भाषा में सुना करेगी। ऐसा ही फिल्मों के साथ भी होगा। जब जनता सिनेमा हॉल में एआई की मदद से रियल टाइम ट्रांसलेशन सुना करेगी, आप अंदाजा लगा सकते हैं कि जब ये टेक्नोलॉजी हमारे स्कूलों, हमारे अस्पतालों, हमारी अदालतों में व्यापक रूप से इस्तेमाल होने लगेगी तो कितना बड़ा परिवर्तन आएगा। मैं आज की युवा पीढ़ी से आग्रह करूंगा कि रियल टाइम ट्रांसलेशन से जुड़े एआई टूल्स को और एक्सप्लोर करें, उन्हें 100% फुल प्रूफ बनाएं।
Yeah, so that's just an example of. So this is not massively available. Like if you want to use it, there will be a little bit. It's work in progress, but yeah, of course, this was just an experiment done, very successful experiment done to showcase real-time live translation. Another example that I'll share, this was covered in BBC as well, Indian farmers. So farmers rely a lot on predictability, whether it is going to rain and whatnot. So imagine with the help of, so I'm just sharing all these examples to tickle your brain so that you can see some of the use cases and examples that are very relevant and pertinent to India as well.
To analyze the data collected by these sensors.
If we provide this data in raw form to farmer, probably he or she will not understand what to do with it. So this is where AI comes in. What AI does is, it looks at that data that is coming from farm. It looks at what crop the farmer is growing, what is the requirement of the crop in that stage, and it basically uses all these information and then processes it and then produces certain outcome in a very simple language and manner that farmers can understand.
A notification on the mobile app brings precise guidance on when to water the crops, spray fertilizers, or tackle pests. It takes $300 to install the device, and advisories are available via subscription. The service currently works on 8 horticulture crops like grapes and guavas. What is the kind of improvement in productivity and yields you are seeing in the farms?
When you do irrigation and you use fertilizers properly, you see the effect on crop in terms of yield and quality, and you can increase up to 20-25% in terms of production itself.
So you get an idea. We don't have to play the entire video, but you get an idea on how, the sectors which you wouldn't imagine, like agriculture also, where there's a tremendous potential. And there are lots and lots of startups that I meet that are working in this sector as well. I'll go to the next. This is very similar. I won't play this video. This is Kisan GPT. The idea is the previous one was collecting all the data. Here, imagine the farmer in their native language can ask questions like, what is the mandi rate of this crop right now, so that they can make an informed decision on right from the entire journey in terms of when to sow, when to water, which they know from traditional knowledge as well, to in addition to how and when to sell and where to sell as well. And you can all check it. These are all available, online as well. Anybody seen this video? I don't know why it is not loading, of how education is going. Have you seen this video of? If you haven't seen it, then I'll play it. This is the video that, again, it is 6 to 8 months old. There was a launch of another, like the way ChatGPT today or any other chatting tool where you chat, but it can't really see you. Now the next thing that's coming up, it's multimodal. It can see, talk, see what's on the screen and interact with you. So this is an example how tutoring and education is going to be transformed as well. So let's see it if you guys haven't seen it.
So let's get it started. It's loading up. All right, make sure you can see our screen.
Actually, in this form.
Hello there.
Yeah.
I'm here with my son, and I'd love you to tutor him on this math problem. But don't give him the answer. You can ask questions and nudge him in the right direction, but I really want to make sure he understands it himself. And he's here in the room, so you can talk to him directly.
Of course. I'd be happy to help. Let's look at the problem together. Can you first identify which sides of the triangle are the opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse relative to angle alpha?
All right, so I'm pretty sure this is the angle alpha right here, right?
Perfect. That's correct. Now, looking at the triangle, which side do you think is the hypotenuse? Remember the hypotenuse?
I'm not totally sure. I think it might be this one, but I really am not sure. This side AC.
You're close. Actually, side AC is called the adjacent side to the angle alpha. The hypotenuse is the longest side of a right triangle and is directly opposite the right angle. Can you find which one is the hypotenuse?
Oh, okay, I see. So I think the hypotenuse is this really long side from A to B. Would that be correct?
Yeah, so you guys got the
Exactly.
idea.
Well done. Now that you've identified.
So the idea is that future is where people will have personalized tutor, personalized medicine available at their disposal. So what's going to be the role, the role of a teacher at school or a health physician is yet to be figured out, but that's where it is headed towards. So the thing is that people or industry leaders who keep themselves up to date with what's coming up, I think that becomes even more important for them to remain relevant.
And what's the app name for it?
This was just launched. All this is preview into future. So what I was talking about, this is not a released product yet, but this is an experiment again that was launched to showcase what's the possibility. So I showed you a little bit of history, and since the sneak peek into future, this is what I'm showing right now. Is some of it, what I showed in the news is already there, but it was also futuristic in the sense that it was an experiment. This particular one is basically ChatGPT released something called GPT 4.0 Omni model. So you can search the videos, but I don't think you can use it yet. It's not available to public consumption yet. But this is a sneak peek into what's coming up in the future, so that you're future ready as well. All right, let's move on to this is another startup which I really like, is that they are already there in the market, helping a lot of companies.
लंबी सी मेट्रो लाइन क्यों बनी? Ever wondered why this long metro line was built? सिर्फ इस चलान के लिए. To make this joyous jump possible.
So if you see what this startup does is basically one recording, and then it translates and does the lip syncing. Like if you notice, the lip was also changing basis. Normally what happens when you dub a movie into another language, you notice that the lips are going somewhere and the audio is somewhere. Here it's the audio, your voice of the same actor, and the lip is syncing to the, so a lot of companies are using this startup already. So this is in production to someone who asked this question. This one is out there already. So just see it again because it's interesting. I found it really interesting that they're able to lip sync and also get the audio in the voice of the actor himself.
And nothing should stop our soldiers from marching forward. India banta rahega, to aage badhta rahega. We believe that to keep growing, India needs to keep building.
This is that company, visualdub.ai is the company that's working in this space. And there are numerous examples. I'm telling you, if you guys go and search on your own, you'll find even more examples. But with all this comes a lot of ethical dilemma. How many of you have gotten fraudster, or fraudster emails, calls, so many scams happening? Imagine this voice going in the hands, this tech going in the wrong hands. I know people personally, they have received a voice call in the voice of their child or something stating it can be AI faking it as well. So that's why there's a lot of ethical dilemma in terms of and a lot of debate going on across countries and nations on how to make sure that it is secure, that we don't run in this trap. You guys have seen this video or not? If you haven't, then this is a very interesting one. This is again old, but it was done by a telecom company.
Hey Mom, hey Dad. It's me, Ella. Well, a digital version of me, just a bit older. Amazing what technology can do these days, isn't it? All you need are a couple of pictures, like the ones you share on social media, where they can be taken and used by everybody. I know for you these pictures are just memories, but for others, they are data. And for me, maybe the beginning of a horrible future. A future where my identity can be stolen just like that. Where I can go to prison for things that I would never do. Imagine my credit score being destroyed, Dad. Or my voice copied to scam you, Mom.
Mom, I'm in trouble. I need you to send me money, please.
I don't want to become a meme, humiliated by everyone at school.
Kill yourself, you fucking loser.
And I certainly don't want this. What you share online is like a digital footprint that will follow me around for the rest of my life. I'm telling you this because I know you love me and would never do anything to harm me. So please, Mom, please, Dad, protect my virtual privacy.
So this video was created, by a telecom company to educate everyone. We all do it. We post on social media as well. We leave so much. You guys heard about how this India banned TikTok and others because, again, I'm not going to get into the politics of it, just because data is the new oil. Anybody who has your data and everything, without realizing, we're giving way too much information and power in the hands of those apps. US is also debating to ban TikTok or not to ban. It's all political and business at the end of the day, but there is also social and ethical dilemma that's going around it. So with this, I'll just ask the last thing for you guys. When you're riding the AI wave, it is actually a balancing act of threat and opportunities for all of us as a user or consumer, and also as a producer of new gen applications. So what are you feeling now? Just one word to describe your emotions. And that's the last slide for today. And if anybody wants any question, we're about time as well. Someone felt it was waste of time as well. Maybe they knew it already. But great to see that so many of you got inspired and educated. So thank you so much for your time, and hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you. That's okay. Thanks.
We'll just take one picture.
Sure.
Rafi, can we take a group picture?
Having some doubt.
Sure.
Will AI take over accounts? Means the work the CA does. Can AI take over that?
It will definitely influence. It will definitely influence.
No, but the decisions have to be taken emotionally also, right? But the AI does not have emotions.
It will, I'll answer this question. So he asked this question, is AI going to take over accounting as well? It's definitely going to augment. Replacing is little far, but I'd say in a lot of professions, AI is augmenting the work that you do. So when a CA is doing it, human touch is needed at the end of the day. So not in the immediate future, but who knows? Right now, what's happening in every role that you can imagine, it is augmenting and helping and assisting humans. Like I asked you as students, are you using it? As professional, I use it. All the coders in my team use GitHub Copilot for coding. Similarly, I'd imagine that all the accountants and everyone, they are using those models for. If you're not using it, then you're not, it's like you're not using the latest tools to get your job done faster. So yes, it is going to augment. Whether it replace, I don't think, but this is just a personal opinion. Things move at a very fast pace. Personally, I don't think it can replace anytime immediately, but the companies or individuals that are not augmenting or leveraging the power of the tech, they will definitely be able to deliver less and more optimal compared to the companies or individuals that are leveraging it.
So is there any goal in CA?
Is there any?
Goal in CA, like, because even normal people could search and they could become.
No, the thing is that even normal people can search online and figure out what does paracetamol, side effect and everything. Still you need a doctor, right? So it's not going to be replaced. At least that's my view. As I said, things are moving at a very fast pace. So in your industry, in your sector, you have to keep an eye on what's happening around it. Yes.
What do you think about the idea of a semi-singularity happening as AI advances?
What do you mean by semi-singularity?
As in, I believe you're, as a data analyst and a specialist in AI, you're aware about the concept of the singularity, yes?
I don't know what is singularity. What do you do?
Singularity is a theoretical event wherein an artificial intelligence becomes so advanced it's become independent and uncontrollable like humans.
Yeah.
Thus being able to technically take over the world. I mean, look at Skynet from Terminator or almost any science fiction movie.
Got it.
You'll see some evil AI.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you think about AI becoming fully independent and trying to take over the decisions made in people's lives? For example, let's say we have AI assistants in banking or helping manage our Amazon orders. Because at some point, could they start making their own independent decisions, that may not fit our wishes?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and that's a constant debate that goes in industry, academia, governments as well. Like, you have to keep human in the loop just to avoid that pitfall. Again, at the moment, there is no single thing that is doing that, but there's a lot of experiments and projects going in the same direction.
Those of you who have watched the Space Odyssey 2001 will remember HAL, the computer that I think he's referring to.
Yes.
So, I was thinking more of Skynet from Terminator because HAL, eventually, it turns out, was actually programmed in a way it trapped him in a logic loop that's forcing him to go through. Another question, do you think AI is starting to become more limited by hardware rather than software because, we're starting to reach a limit from which how small and how many transistors we can fit on a chip, and quantum computing's still in its early stages since whilst we do have qubits and they're quite small, the apparatus required to keep the system in its optimum conditions and to actually use it are still quite large.
Yeah, so that's another great question. What's going to be the limiting? I think in my view, again, this is just personal view, we'll have to wait and watch how the industry reacts. Quantum compute is still picking up, but Google released it, Microsoft released a qubit chip yesterday, day before actually, and Google released below a week back where they're saying that they're able to do a mathematical calculation which would take 10 to the power 25 years in 5 minutes. That's the amount of speed difference that we're talking about. So compute power, the fact is, why one of the reasons for Gen AI to become so diffusive in today's market was just because the compute power increased. And it's so much investment going in that direction that it's increasing even multi-facet, like the two examples that I just shared from the past 2 weeks. So there's continuous research going on in making sure that the compute power increases. Second very important aspect is the sustainability. A lot of these data centers require so much, they have so much of a requirement of electricity for cooling of their data centers itself that it is just incredibly an insane amount of electricity that gets wasted. So any single query that you make, it is equivalent to consuming the electricity of let's say 1 light bulb for a whole day, something of that sort. So if someone is using every single day just one query, you're kind of consuming the electricity that a city would have consumed, a small city would have consumed. So for that reason, sustainability and compute power and making sure that we're not utilizing resources to the extent that it utilizes today becomes extremely important. Next important thing, limiting thing would be the ROI. It's becoming very expensive today, all these, while the tech is there. The ROI of every query, what it augments you, is also has to be measured. Businesses at the end of the day have to measure ROI. What is the amount of money that you are pouring into just to get that answer? To your question about a CA doing it, or the reason some of those things are not automated is also because it's cheaper to keep a human to do that job versus at times even automating. So currently we're at a stage that ROI of these has not been realized in a lot of use cases. But as in more, the compute power becomes readily available, the model becomes cheaper, the amount of money that was spent in building some of the previous models versus what DeepSeek has shown us is that the amount of money and power that they use is drastically different. So this has become kind of every industry, every company is putting research in this space to reduce the compute power, reduce the cost so that the ROI is realized. So in my view, the limitation is going to be once, for the companies that are building infrastructure is how do you make sure that their compute power increases. For the companies that are into building LLM models is that how can they build the LLM models with reduced infrastructure and reduced data requirements. And then on applications, how to really generate that ROI, so that you're able to realize the potential of it with the investment that you're doing. Sure.
If possible, I'd also like to know about the extent to which there's a risk or worry about paradoxes, fallacies, or something else that may exist within AI. For example, someone mentioned earlier HAL 9000 from 2001: A Space Odyssey. That was an AI that was designed to constantly tell the truth. But in the case of the HAL in the movie, it was told it couldn't tell the crew about its secret mission. This trapped it in a logic loop, which eventually forced it to try and kill the majority of the crew members. What do you think is the worry about similar logical fallacies or paradoxes happening in modern AI, especially if we're going to talk about biased data sets? I mean, we've already heard stories about, let's say, facial recognition software identifying certain minorities as animals, and similar stories. So what do you think is the extent to the risk of that? How much should we worry about it? And how can we try and counteract it, especially when we have so many different AIs out there and not much infrastructure to enforce these laws?
Yeah. So number one thing I'd say is that your AI model is as good as data. And the data comes from the real world, right? And the real world itself is filled with biases. The moment you say a nurse, what comes to your mind? A female, right? And the moment you say a driver, what comes to mind is a male, right? So the AI is fed on the data that is available, prevalent on the net or on what's available in the society. So biases that are present in the society are actually getting double-fold and multi-fold in AI when AI starts taking decisions on your behalf. So number one thing is eliminating the data bias. So when you are building a model, you have to consciously be sure about that the data is representative of, good segment. Some of these models don't work, like some of the models which are for medicine and others, they don't work for India population as well, because the data and all the research and all the model feeding is done with experiments and data sets from the Western world. That's why it becomes extremely important. So number one thing that so that's why I keep repeating, data is the new oil. If the data is unbiased and you have the person who's developing, so every company has something called as responsible AI as a vertical that they're heavily investing in to make sure that some of these data biases are eliminated. Second, getting into this trap, in the beginning I talked about AI agents. Up until now, when you're talking about Gen AI helping you with assignments, not submitting assignment on your behalf. But agents, when we talk about agents, and a lot of companies are coming out with agents, they're going to autonomously act on your behalf. That's when it becomes extremely important to keep the human in the loop so that it's not suddenly making decisions that are disruptive for your business or for you as an individual. Again, anybody who's developing agents and making them autonomous is very, very cognizant of it. To your point, that's why it becomes the ethical dilemma, and that's why I showed that last video as well, because it's not all rosy. Every tech comes with a dark side as well. When the nuclear power came, it can be used and misused as well, while it has so many other benefits to just support the electricity requirement of the entire world. Similarly, AI has a potential to do so much good, but all these checks, balances in terms of, so companies are hiring AI ethics officer. The World Economic Forum had a special segment on AI and ethics and biases and all, just for the same reason that we want to ensure that it doesn't head in the wrong direction. So every company has responsible AI every project that you build, you have to make sure that you keep that in mind, the ethics and privacy of the user and the data, because you're following all the data of the consumer or the customer in this case. It's extremely important to ensure that you're not violating the privacy of the individual in this case. So when we build AI models, all the personal information that can identify a user gets masked or that gets eliminated from the model training as well. So those are some of the best practices as you develop that you have to incorporate in your application building as well. All right, thank you for the great questions once again, and yeah, good luck.
We'll just take one picture.
Sure.
So can we have all the students right here on the stage? We'll take it twice. We'll take first with the students and then with the
Sure, whatever you prefer. Please come. Yeah, let's be done with it. Which school are you guys from? VIP International School. Okay, yes. Hello.
It was lovely to meet you.
Likewise.
I'm really inspired by the whole, the concept of AI, and I was like interested. I was thinking whether to go with fintech, going a blend with CA and AI. But,
Sure. Please come a little bit closer so that he can. Guys, come forward. Don't be shy. He's asking some of us to come in the front. Please come. Some of you can come down. Come. You want to come in the front?
I'm sorry.
Let's just come in symmetry. I'll come down as well. Thank you.
Can we have others also please Thank you.
One question on a personal
Thank
note,
you for
because
being
you
here.
shared the video regarding the education, right? Being an educator, what you will suggest for us should be like what and which field we should upskill ourselves?
Yeah, I think the thing is that how do you determine whether the assignment that was submitted was all, that's an important thing for educators at school these days too.
Sometime back, just last week or somewhere, I was going through, like browsing through, it was